Hi guys, Pete here, N6QW, and we're looking at my RADIG V.3 transceiver. And what I wanted to do was just share a little with the current configuration. This right here is the normal board that we use, the teensy with the display right here. And
have you been binging like me?
The teensy has built into it the control of the SI5351, which is right here. Now, what I'm able to do is this uses a single output, which goes into a 74 AC 74 here, and then the signal is divided by 4. So at 7 megahertz you'd have to have a 28 megahertz LO, and so you have to go through some processing here to provide the phased output of the LO to go into the two double balance mixers, which are the ADE1s, which sit right here. Now, a lot of guys have been working on another way to do this, and that way is to develop a phased output out of the SI5351. Since you have several clocks, you have 3 clocks available to you, and some guys have worked on this. And essentially the configuration of this radio right now is that I have bypassed the single output 28 megahertz coming out of being driven by the teensy 3.5, and sitting in the back here I have an Arduino Nano, or Uno rather, that drives 2 outputs in out of phase by 90 degrees, and then we have put a simple little LCD display in the background to keep track of it. Now, downstream, one interesting aspect of this configuration would be that you could have a pretty sophisticated display used right here with the teensy to display spectrum, like a color TFT, a big screen, and you take the workload off of the teensy to supply just the LO, because the teensy 4.0 runs at 600 megahertz, and you only need something that's 16 megahertz clock speed to generate the frequencies that you would need to for the phased LO to drive the RADIG board. So this is a first attempt, and it looks kind of weird to have 2 displays.
In the mornings, checking.
Now there we're going to upper sideband. Now the upper sideband and lower sideband is controlled by the teensy, and so when I switch to lower sideband, I'm retuning this to the operating frequency, which is 7162. So this functionality, 7163. So this functionality essentially will give you somewhere downstream 2 displays, a color TFT to looking at its spectrum, and then the simple LCD to just give you the frequency. And there'd be a way that as I shift from upper sideband to lower sideband, a double pole, double throw switch would take the other set of contacts and essentially drive the Uno to just show the display, would say upper sideband or lower sideband. Wouldn't have any real control of the processing, but at least give you a visual display. So this is what we've been working on. We've had this on the air for the total time has been about close to a month, but just with the phased output using the Uno driving the 2 clocks, this has been a little over a week now, and I have tried for a long time to do it, and I got to be honest with you, I just was not successful. Even though someone gave me some code, and finally someone said, here's the code, do it this way, and I was able to do it. So a little harder when you're a little advanced in age and you don't know a lot of things, or maybe didn't do a sufficient number of research. But I do have a working clock right now that lets me do that.
Propagation at this distance here in Arizona 3820 today.
So if you're looking in the back, you can see the frequency changing. Fan doesn't seem too active this morning. The other thing with the Teensy here, which I've done, is tune the KPH SDR or the one up in Utah. So if you want to get waterfalls with this, it won't produce the waterfall directly with this current configuration. But sure, you can go to the internet and look at all the waterfalls you want to. And it's interesting, you see some signals are being displayed on the waterfall that you don't hear, and some signals are displayed on the waterfall you do hear, but you don't hear on the radio directly. I'm not sure what the band conditions are today, but it's about, let's see, getting close to past 9:30, so maybe... Must be a contest this weekend. That's a station in Japan.
Okay, 005, QSL.
Pete here, N6QW. Well, that's the only station I hear working.
But that's when I was hearing the other frequencies busy, 3819 first. But you're probably right, Chris. That makes sense. Might be worth a try.
So again, we're controlling
by the way, we're gonna
the frequency with the Uno outside of the Teensy 3.5, and instead of just a single output that is then split on the board, this is actually producing the quadrature output that is feeding the two ADE1s.
600 watts actually is quite sufficient, I think.
$7170. Not hearing too much this morning. Anyway, just to demonstrate that I am using the quad output developed by the Uno R3 driving SI 5351, clock 0 and clock 1. There's one of those broadcast stations. I've actually noted that when there's lots of signals present, the phased output seems to produce a cleaner signal than the one where you're doing it at 4 times and dividing it by the 74 AC74. I'm not sure that that's just isn't a perception of mine, and I've not actually run it down, but
That they wanted to be smart in a substantial way and altering energy or other technologies. Otherwise, I think they will almost go.
Pete here, N6QW, just demonstrating the phased output developed with a Uno driving a SI 5351.
Oh, over there. Well, fine business. Yep, everything is pretty
7139
much okay here. We'll see how things go in the next couple of weeks, but right now everything is okay. Little I can around here, odd jobs, a little bit of
upper
radio,
sideband, lower sideband.
but it's phone, and I'm not very fond of the WPX phone contest.
Oh, that's what it must be today, WPX phone. anyway, just wanted to demo this, and thank you for riding along. This has been a fun experimental time, and I think there's lots of opportunity. I'm working on a project here developing a phasing type SDR, a phasing type non-SDR transceiver, so that we won't have any of the computer processing. We'll just use like they did in the old days, like W2 EWL built the phasing. Anthony Vitale in 1956 built a phasing transmitter inside of an ARC-V. So we're looking to maybe use the RADIG board without a computer, just have a simple display and do the build some phase shift networks. I've got a couple ordered from QRP Labs, although I think they're going to probably require some pretty extensive modification. I'm kind of documenting that on my blog, n6qw.blogspot.com, and I did get the AD9833, which is a little board like the AD9850, but a much limited capability.
I looked around a little bit to see what was listed. I figured 20 was probably a zoo this morning. This contest is a lot more fun. 10 and 15. Work on 20 in the lower bands, and it makes for a hard.
Anyway, Pete here, N6QW.